Good morning, students. Today we'll talk about George Orwell's essay Politics and the English Language. George Orwell's essay Politics and the English Language was first published in April 1946 in the literary magazine Horizon. This essay deals with the evils of totalitarianism and its bad effects upon the English language, analysis of the linguistic maladies, reasons for the decadence of the English language, and also suggests rules for bringing the language back to good health. The key points of the essay are as follows. Number 1. Decline of the English language. Orwell discusses about the decline of the English language. Then, second, causes for decline in truthfulness of language. After that, Orwell exhibits 5 examples of English language. Example number 1 shows use of 5 negative in 53 words. Example 2 exhibits use of mixed metaphors. Example 3 exhibits meaninglessness of the text. Example 4 exhibits accumulation of stale phrases. And example 5 shows that words and meaning don't go together. Besides these, two common faults of these passages are staleness of imagery and lack of precision. Then next point is causes of vagueness and imprecision. And what are these causes? Number 1, use of dying metaphors. Dying metaphors means stale metaphors. Number 2, operators or verbal false limbs. This means instead of using simple verbs, we use verb phrases and this increases vagueness. Then number 3, pretentious diction. This means pompous or ornamental or showy language. And number 4, use of meaningless words. Then Orwell gives an example of modern English or modern political writing. Next, he discusses how to cure the decadence of language. And for this he suggests that a serious writer must ask 4 questions while he was writing to himself. And what are they? Number 1, what am I trying to say? Then number 2, what words will express it? Number 3, what image or idiom will make it clearer? And number 4, is this image fresh enough to make an effect? Besides these, there are 2 more questions which one should ask. Number 1, could I put it more shortly? Means, could I be more precise? And number 2, have I said anything that is avoidably ugly? Then he discusses that decadence of language is curable, and for that he suggests some rules for good writing. Orwell thinks that modern writers must cultivate a style which is suitable for the communication of complex thoughts in the simplest manner. I quote, "Language is an instrument for expressing and not for concealing or preventing thoughts." So these are the main points or the main ideas of Orwell in his essay Politics and the English Language. Now let's begin discussing the main points in detail. So today we'll discuss the first part of the section, The first portion of Politics and the English Language reasons that modern language is in decline because it is overly and pointlessly complicated. This kind of language, fraught with large words but lacking meaning, is susceptible to being used in propaganda. Orwell argues against the introduction of foreign words into the English lexicon, claiming that they only serve to complicate and obscure the meaning. Latin and Greek derived terms are, according to Orwell, a crutch that allows scientists and politicians to sound more intelligent and grand while diluting the precision of their language. So he was against the Latin and Greek words, usage of Latin and Greek words in English language. Then Orwell believes that modern English speech is becoming increasingly insincere and therefore more useful as propaganda. And for that, he analyzes 5 pieces of text to show how their authors use overcomplicated and vague writing to achieve their purposes. He selects works by Harold Laski, Lancelot Hogben, and Paul Goodman, as well as a communist pamphlet and a reader's letter from Tribune. All of these 5 pieces of writing are, according to Orwell, at best misleading and at worst actively deceptive. Politicians have sanitized inexcusable acts such as the continuance of British rule in India or the dropping of atom bombs on Japan through a combination of stale imagery, unnecessarily complicated diction, and words that have been abstracted to the point of meaninglessness. Then he gives some causes of vagueness and imprecision. Orwell follows with a more specific list of examples of habits or tactics that writers use in order to avoid developing meaning in their prose. And what are they? Number 1, dying metaphors, dying or stale metaphors. Dying metaphors are hackneyed, familiar, unoriginal metaphors, not of the writer's own invention. While original metaphors work by presenting the reader with a new image, dying or stale metaphors are redundant and fail to evoke a new thought. Then Orwell lists a number of familiar examples, including toe the line, which he also notes is frequently misspelled as toe the line, TOW, implying that the writer doesn't even know the meaning of the metaphor they are attempting to use. Then next is operators or verbal false limbs. Stand in for more clear and accessible meaning. Examples are render inoperative, militate against, prove unacceptable, etc. These are used in the place of other verbs. The reason for this, he suggests, is mostly stylistic rhythmic. The writer attempting to create a symmetrical sentence by filling it out with an operator. Other examples of this are the use of passive voice in place of active and the replacement of simple conjunctions with complex phrases such as with respect to, having regard to. So this is again another reason for decadence of language, for the vagueness of the language, that instead of using simple verbs we use verb phrases, and that complicates the meaning and makes it vague. The next is pretentious diction. Pretentious diction is an important target in Orwell's broader critique. Use of pretentious diction has specific political functions. Certain pretentious words aim to stand in for scientific objectivity. Pretentious adjectives are used to turn ugly international political processes into something sophisticated or to glorify, for example, a war. Foreign words replace familiar English words as a way of giving an air of sophistication. He argues that one reason that political writers resort to the use of foreign words is because it's easier than finding an accurate English word. Pretentious diction, he suggests, is mostly caused by laziness, and its effect ultimately muddies the writer's meaning. So, showy and ornamental language is another, we can say, thing which makes a language vague. Then, next is meaningless words. Orwell lists a number of words often used in art history, writing, and other disciplines that he says are ultimately meaningless. But his main targets in this section are political words such as fascism, used as a general term to refer to something bad and therefore rendered meaningless, and democracy, used as a reference for good politics and therefore deployed by everyone to favorably label the given regime that they are defending. Orwell shows how other examples lead to a general sloppiness and vagueness by which writers avoid committing to the meaning of their sentences. Orwell develops a sample of this, paraphrasing a passage from Ecclesiastes by using strikingly abstract language to show the evasive effect of modern language. So, this is the first part of the essay Politics and the English Language by George Orwell, and the main points we have discussed. For today, that's all, students, and tomorrow we will analyze this first part and then we'll also discuss the second section of the essay. Thank you.